week on Quality Digest Live, we chat with Robb McIvor of the Court Metrology Society about World Metrology Week in CMSC 2013 in San Diego this summer.
Plus, when it comes to the energy industry, will sustainability be the next great equalizer? We'll find out when we come back.
Don't miss the largest PC-DEMIS user group meeting in the world. Join us June 3rd through 6th in Las Vegas for Hexagon Live. Hexagon Metrology. We are metrology.
Welcome back to Quality Digest Live for May 24th, 2013. QDL is your weekly look at who and what is making the news in the world of quality. I'm Dirk Ducharme, Editor-in-Chief of Quality Digest.
And I'm Quality Digest publisher Mike Richman. Well, we'll start this week with a news piece on the power of failure and the importance of agility.
The power of failure.
And the importance of agility, very important. A recent report from Gartner, the information research technology and advisory company, indicates that accepting slightly higher project failure rates can help certain organizations become more efficient faster. The report, called Predicts 2013 PPM Leaders Must Embrace Constant Innovation and Change, was discussed at Gartner's PPM and IT Governance Summit, the North American portion of which took place earlier this month. There's another summit taking place in London starting on June 3rd. As you can tell from the title of the summit, this research is geared specifically to organizations within the project and portfolio management and information technology spaces. However, there are plenty of important lessons to be learned for pretty much anyone in any industry, and maybe, very, very possibly, quality professionals most of all. Primarily, what the research is saying is that those who are willing to be aggressive and take some chances may well fail at a higher rate than their peers, but what they'll learn from the experience ends up making them better overall. The concept, as many of you undoubtedly know, is referred to as fail forward fast. Fail forward fast.
Good at that.
And it can yield, fail forward fast can yield very rapid improvements in organizational culture. It also has a side benefit.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yes, it does. It has a side benefit, and this is one that's very important, not only in the PPM and IT areas, but really for anybody, of limiting the financial effects of project failures because they happen so much earlier in the development cycle. In other words, you're going to fail forward fast, and you're going to find out if you got a problem in that project a lot quicker. You're not going to maybe invest so much time and money in it, and you're going to maybe learn what you need to be doing better.
Yeah, I think I kind of took a slightly different take on this. I mean, I think I understood what they were saying there. My thought was that not being if you're not being afraid of failure, I guess
right.
is what I'm getting down to is sure, put ideas out there, do them, try them. If you fail, put another idea out there, do it, try it, fail, and so eventually you're not afraid of the failure aspect of it, and maybe that's what they're getting at.
I think that's what they're getting at because there is that psychological resistance to it. People are afraid to fail. They're afraid that, oh my gosh, what am I going to look like? People are going to think poorly of me. But if you don't fail, if you're not willing to do that, then you're never going to really move forward.
Well, you're
right?
not. And did they mention innovation in there? I think that was probably
they
one of those.
Yep,
okay.
Yep, they did.
If you're not going to be afraid to fail, you're not going to innovate because part of innovation is falling flat on your face.
That's right. Yeah. And you may have heard this. I'm sure many out there have understood this. That in Silicon Valley, for instance, apparently you can't get venture capitalist money unless you've sunk 2 or 3 companies already. If you've had an unbroken string of success, nobody wants to give you any money, right? But if you failed and you've had a failure or a bankruptcy, people will give you money because it proves that within that culture you're willing to take chances and be very innovative. And that's interesting. It's a good lesson to learn and to kind of get over that psychological fear.
Failure.
That's right.
Okay. Well, for those of you involved in the Healthcare and Lean Initiative, you probably don't want to miss the 4th Annual Lean Healthcare Transformation Summit. Mm-hmm. This is June 5th and 6th at the Hilton Walt Disney Resort in Orlando, Florida. At that summit, you will learn how innovative experiments are changing the way we deliver and pay for healthcare with a focus on value. There will be special keynotes by Dr. John Toussaint, Paul O'Neill, Francois Debrant, Alan Gleghorn, and James Womack. Coupled with down-to-earth, real experiments from pioneer-breaking from pioneers breaking new ground in healthcare every day. So this is a real hands-on type of summit that's going to be very valuable for those of you who work in healthcare, particularly if you're involved in the quality initiatives, lean initiatives there at your facility. So take note, that's the 4th annual Lean Healthcare Transformation Summit, June 5th and 6th at the Hilton Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. You can just follow the link down below the player page.
That's right. And another interesting event coming up later this year is the 9th annual Northeast Shingo Prize Conference, occurring in Hyannis, Hyannis, Massachusetts this September. Massachusetts is beautiful in the early fall. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's very nice. The conference's educational partner is GBMP, which of course is presided over by QD contributor Bruce Hamilton, the old lean dude himself, the toaster guy. Bruce will provide the opening and closing remarks for the conference, so if you've ever wanted to meet him, now's your chance.
I'd like to meet Bruce.
Yeah, just don't ask him to sing Whip It.
Whip It.
Just whatever you do, don't do that. It's funny, but it's I don't know. Anyway, all right. So as always, all information on the stories that Dirk mentioned, all the stories that we just covered, and that we're going to be covering today on the show are available right down there below the video player. All the links are down there for your perusal.
That's right.
So check those out. Okay. Well, now, turning to our feature articles for the week, as you all know by now, we've been covering World Metrology Week since Monday in Quality Digest Daily. We've had special feature articles, news items, and a 3-part trivia contest with great gifts sponsored by Hexagon Metrology, Innometric Software, and Brunson Instrument Company. We've worked very closely during this week-long celebration with the Coordinate Metrology Society, and of course we're proud to be the group's media partner that allows us to bring you details not only on World Metrology Week and things of that nature, but also extensive coverage of the Coordinate Metrology Systems Conference, which occurs every summer. CMSC 2013 takes place this July in San Diego. Woohoo! Oh, that's right, we're going to be there.
Nice place.
That's right. So joining us now via Skype to chat about the CMSC, World Metrology Week, and a lot more is the Coordinate Metrology Society's current chairperson, Robb McIvor. Robb, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks a lot, Mike. Hi, Dirk.
Hey.
Robb, thank you again. Thanks for being here with us, and thanks for supporting us on World Metrology Week. It was another good World Metrology Week for us. We had a lot of readers checking out a lot of the content, answering the trivia questions, and commenting on stories and the like. Now, I want to ask you, do you find that there's a growing awareness within manufacturing of the importance of metrology? What's your take on that?
Well, metrology has always been an important part of the manufacturing world. I think what's happening today is that you see more and more and more better tools which allow you to improve your manufacturing processes. So yeah, it's definitely becoming a bigger issue. How well can I do this? How well can I measure it? And how can I go about improving my processes because of it? When I was kind of prepping for this a little bit, I came across a quote by the Scottish physicist Lord Kelvin, and he said, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And so logically it would seem to follow that the better you can measure it, the more you can improve it. So yeah, I think there is a growing awareness. I think it's becoming more important in order for product quality, manufacturing efficiency, and those types of things.
I think that's well said, and I think that is important. I think anybody in manufacturing in particular certainly understands that, yeah, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it.
Right.
You know, and that's one of the, of course, that's one of the things about DMAIC is you want to have measure. Right. The M in DMAIC is measure. Another important issue, another couple of important issues that we talk about here a lot, I know the CMSC is concerned about, as well as education and training. Quite frankly, I think we've all known this. Industry needs more metrologists. They need more people going into the field. So can you talk a little bit about how the Coordinate Metrology Society is addressing this issue, and maybe you can reference a little bit about your brand new Level 1 personnel certification?
Yeah. A number of years back, I think it was 2008, some folks approached the CMSC about metrologist certification. Lots of industries, the example that they used was the nuclear industry, in which in order to enter a facility, you need to be qualified to do so. So once you get inside that facility, though, how do you know just how good the people that you're working with are? And so we, to shorten it up a lot, we decided we would undertake that certification issue. So in around 2009, there was a team put together, a subcommittee of the Coordinate Measurement Society. And that team was put together in order to come up with certification standards, certification tests, resulting in certification of metrologists. So it's been a long process. It's been a very intense process. You talked to Randy Groover, our certification committee chair, 2-3 weeks ago on this show. And I think he gave a lot of good information about it. But in a nutshell, after, I think it's been about 5 years now, we finally have what we're calling the Level 1 certification. Now, the Level 1 certification examination is a knowledge exam. It doesn't demonstrate any competency with hardware, software, any of those types of things, but it looks at a person's knowledge and sets a basic level of knowledge that a person should have when they're out working in the field of metrology. And so this will be the first year that we've actually administered the final examination. Last year, we administered a pilot exam. The metrics from that pilot exam then were run through several, well, I'll call them trap lines, but actually businesses that specialize in creating a fair test, a non-discriminatory test, a legally defensible test. And we've now come up with the actual final examination, which we're going to be administering at the conference this year in San Diego.
And so they'll get, people who take this exam will get some sort of certification there at the show. Is this something they get right away?
To tell you the truth, I don't have the answer to that question. If they pass the test, they will indeed be certified. Okay. And they will be presented with a certificate. They'll be entered in the database. They will have the option to purchase a stamp that they can stamp their reports with, and that certification will be valid for, I believe it's 5 years. Don't hold me to that, but I believe it's 5 years. And during that 5-year period, there are certain hoops that you have to jump through in order to maintain that certification as a valid certification.
And do we know that there's going to be, is the certification, do we know that there's companies that are going to recognize this certification? If you go to some aerospace company or something, are they going to go, oh, you're certified by, the CMS or whatever? Mm-hmm.
By whom? Yeah, exactly. That's another prong of the certification team, and it's one that we haven't addressed as well as perhaps we should have at this stage of the game, because we've been so busy getting the test put together in the first place. But one of the things that the team plans on doing is that we need to start advertising and letting industry know that there is a certification out there now, and that people with this certification have gone through a very rigorous examination and have met all the required qualifications for being certified at this stage for the knowledge portion of the certification. The follow-on certifications will be involving hardware. This year we're going to be piloting a articulated arm PCMM certification, and the data from that pilot examination will be used in creating a certification examination, the same as the pilot examination for the knowledge exam was used to create the final knowledge certification. The hardware examinations we refer to as level 2, and they will be specific to a given piece of hardware.
Well, Rob, that's great. There's a lot. Gosh, there's so much here to talk about. There's actually a bunch of questions I wanted to get to, but we're running out of time, and we are going to be in San Diego. Dirk and I are going to be in San Diego at the end of the month, at the end of July, I should say, and we want to chat with you more then about this, because there's a lot more here to talk about. I'm glad we kind of got a little deeper into the certification, level 1 certification program here, though. So, Rob, for now, that's it. Thank you, though, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. We're going to see you again in San Diego at the end of July. Thanks for joining us.
Great, thanks for having me, and I'll see you there.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, Ron. Bye. When I say sustainability or sustainable, what do you think of?
Gosh, I think of green. I think of plastics. I think of transportation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are good. Okay. that's kind of along the lines. A lot of people think, if you're thinking green, let's say, you're thinking maybe recycle or reuse what you have, or maybe if you're a retailer or some sort of provider of a product, you might be thinking in terms of environmentally friendly products that you sell to your customers. To others, it's all of that, everything that what you said, plus teaching customers on how to operate in a more sustainable manner in their own lives. In other words, as Tom Kadala points out in his article, will sustainability become the feared equalizer? Quote, sustainability is more than just a repeatable process. It is also a culture, an attitude, and a way of thinking that inspires inherent behavioral changes on socially acceptable consumption practices.
I think that's a good definition.
It's a great definition. And he gives an example of this in his article. And it's kind of the contrast between, let's say, Walmart and Whole Foods. Both companies work closely with their suppliers to recycle waste and introduce biodegradable packaging and so forth. But the difference is, while Walmart gives its price-oriented consumers environmentally friendly products, which is important, it doesn't educate them on how they should change their consumption attitudes. In contrast, says Kadala, Whole Foods educates its employees and the community it serves and its customers. And it basically teaches them and informs them on what sustainable practices are, not just sell them sustainable products. The company teaches sustainability as really as a shared problem that begins with each and every consumer. Quote, Whole Foods believes that improved knowledge is how one's food is handled and prepared can help consumers make better choices and therefore lead healthier lives that will result in fewer medical issues, end quote. Both approaches really are good. They're both good. I mean, anything you do is good. But the Whole Foods approach is more along the lines of, what is that? Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. It's the same idea. The real question, though, what it really comes down to, I think, is, are companies just talking about green? Are they just talking about organic and so forth? Is this just a means to lure socially conscious customers? The answer to that is probably, sure.
And I mean, there's a marketing piece
there's
to this,
always
sure.
a marketing piece to this. But something that is happening, and Kadala talks about this, is they are starting to get producers, retailers and producers, are starting to get pushed by their shareholders for more accountability. And companies are, in a way, being forced now to prove that they are putting their money where their mouth is. And if you think about it, it's really a matter of risk management. According to Sustain Analytics, a Boston-based firm, companies are eager to disclose their annual environmental and social governance, ESG, scores. They're interested in producing those scores, which are basically a measure of best practices, because shareholders are nervous that an unexpected event could really nail a company. And you don't have to look any further than the Gulf oil spill in 2006, Foxconn's thing, what was that, a couple years ago, that affected Apple earlier. The huge garment collapse, fire, and so forth in Bangladesh. By the way, most of the garments manufactured there were for European and U.S. branded clothing. ESG is a way to provide some transparency into sustainability and social responsibility practice, and hopefully illuminate and mitigate potential problems areas. So like I said, this is really kind of a risk management thing. This, in essence, if you think about it, is really driving the sustainability question away from, let's say, the retailer or even the end user, and driving it all the way back to its source. I mean, if you think about the Gulf oil spill, well, that's the source. Where does the oil come from? You think about where the products are manufactured in the case of Foxconn, or you think about the garment issue, where are the clothes being made? You drive that whole sustainability issue clear back to the source, then you're really starting to get to the whole sustainability issue, I think. Kadala points out that there's a lot that can be done without, let's say, a formalized program like ESG, what we're just talking about. It also takes some form of observation. Remember, we talked about Ono circles. Sitting there, actually look at what's going on. He had a really interesting sustainability story. Catherine Gajewski, Philadelphia's sustainability director, they actually have one of those in Philadelphia, had an interesting case. An enterprise car rental operation in an industrial section of Philadelphia was paying $400 a month for its water bill. Okay, that's not too bad for a big industry. $400 a month.
Yeah,
That actually seems pretty reasonable.
Wash a lot of cars.
Wash a lot of cars.
Right, sure.
But, as Gajewski found out, it was costing the city millions of dollars to purify all the water that came, the dirty wash runoff from Enterprise's car lots when all the cars were washed. Gajewski ran the numbers to show the disproportionality between what Enterprise was paying for its office water usage, $400 a month, and the cost to clean up its runoff, and eventually that situation was squared up. But in other words, no free lunch for Enterprise.
Right.
Now, point. You have to assume that now that Enterprise is, I'm assuming, having to pay a lot more, that they're going to go, maybe we need to handle the whole issue of cleaning our cars a little bit differently so that we're not paying $1 jillion just to wash our cars.
This is the moral. This is what Cadell is talking about here, is that you need to have an incentive for the user to understand the true costs, all the costs of something, whether it's water because of dirty runoff or, in this case, oil and gas. I mean, it's really what he's getting to here is that there needs to be an understanding amongst consumers of what the true cost of that is if you want to be sustainable. And maybe sustainability then becomes, again, as he calls it, that equalizer. Because his theory is that prices are going to continue to go up. And we can maybe drive down the usage, and through that, maybe, if prices do continue to go up, which ultimately is going to be more sustainable for the planet. It's an interesting argument. It's a lengthy argument he makes here. You have to read it through and understand where he's going with this. But I think it's a really good message to understand that we as consumers, we as manufacturers, whatever space we're in, need to understand the true cost of something. Whatever we undertake, if we're going to consume it, whether we're going to create it, whatever, we got to understand the real cost to really accurately measure it. I think that's the message there.
Yeah, I think it is too. Strangely enough, our next story is somewhat tangentially related to sustainability.
It sure is, yep.
We ran a story actually Monday this week, I believe, on a 3D printer that prints with paper.
Great stuff.
It is really a cool story. It's called 3D Printing with Paper by yours truly. That would be me. And really, it's a very interesting technology. I'll just do it really briefly here, and we'll get Connor McCormick, CEO of Mcor, on in just 1 second. But basically what it does is it takes a 3D CAD model, slices it within the software into paper-thin pieces, literally paper-thin pieces, and essentially it lays down a piece of paper, cuts out that shape for that piece of paper, glues another piece of paper on top of it, cuts out that portion of the slice, stacks up all those pieces of paper until what you have at the end is a 3D model in a stack of paper, and then essentially you strip off the excess paper, and what you've got left is your 3D model comprised of paper and glue. And water-soluble glue at that. So here to tell us more about it is Connor McCormick, CEO of Mcor Technologies. Hi, Connor. How are you this morning?
Hi, Dirk. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Actually, I guess it's evening for you guys there.
That's right.
All right. You're in Dunleer, Ireland. Is that right?
Yeah, it's called Dunleer. It's very close to the capital of Ireland, near Dublin. It's about 40 minutes north of Dublin. Okay. Well, tell us a little bit, just a brief overview of how Mcor got started. Yeah, so as you mentioned, I was quite interested in the previous story about sustainability. As you mentioned, my name is Dr. Connor McCormack. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Mcor Technologies. And my other co-founder, my brother, almost 10 years ago to the date, we looked at 3D printing, and we felt, it was one thing our competitors reducing the prices of their machines, but the running costs were going in the opposite direction. So we always felt that if we could we had a very bold idea, if we could make a new 3D printing platform that effectively, initially we thought we could make a machine that had zero running costs. We wanted to make a 3D printer that people could print multiple parts and not have to worry about the printed part cost anymore. And from the very first weekend, from the first concept, we had this very strong passion that the machine needed to be eco-friendly. We could see a future where our technology would end up in schools and universities, and we couldn't see a situation where schools and universities would use non-biodegradable plastics, solvent-based kind of adhesives and extraction fans. So we felt, what's the most readily available, stable, ubiquitous material that anybody can grab their hands on? And as you mentioned, plain old simple reams of paper that you can get in your local office store or then in your local office supply within your company. We use a very simple water-based adhesive that you'd find in your art and craft shop. And you combine the two together, and then with our new color printer, which uses again a water-based ink, we're actually able to print full color, very extremely low cost, biodegradable 3D printed parts.
Let's talk about the color a little bit. To me, that was probably one of the more interesting aspects of this. I think your method of doing color is ingenious. And just to recap it real quick for people, as you're laying down each sheet, you draw a color outline that represents the color of that particular layer, that particular portion of the CAD drawing. And then when you cut through it, obviously the edge of the paper is that color that you just printed. And then once you have all those stacked up, you have a continuous tone color. How did you even come up with that idea? I mean, I think that idea is really ingenious.
Well, it seems like all good ideas, you know, they seem simple when people see the solution. They went, "Oh, that's a great idea." But for us, we always wanted to make color. I mean, people see in color, we design in color, and you can put so much more information down with a color image over a solid object. So we combined an Mcor ink, so we had to actually reverse engineer standard ink, because standard ink doesn't print through the media. It only sits on the surface of the paper. So for example, if you're printing a vertical wall and you wanted color on that, when you would cut through that vertical wall, you wouldn't get color all the way through. So our system, as you mentioned, we use an offset printing process. We use our Mcor ink, and you pre-print the sheets. But the sheets, the software is intelligent enough, it picks up the color along the cut profile of that particular layer, and we just print out just a border around the cut. And then when we pull in those sheets and we cut around the color, when you expose the waste material, you have your full color part exposed inside. Like these kind of connecting rods, you know, that's run from a simple finite element analysis model on your computer. You right-click the model and save it as a VRML file and just hit print in our printer and it comes out. So, you know, the extra layer of data, that's real functional data, you know, that's a very important feature that's just purely on a color file.
Let's talk also a little bit about surface finish. Just looking at, I haven't seen one of your actual models in person. I have seen pictures of them. It looked like surface finish on some of them was very smooth. On other ones, the surface finish looked fairly coarse. Can you just address that a little bit?
Yeah, so our machine can run two different thicknesses of paper. So we can run, in Europe, we run 80 GSM and 160 GSM. And in the US, it's equivalent to 20 pounds and 40 pound paper. So effectively, what you get with the finer grade paper is a layer thickness of 100 microns or 4/1000 of an inch. And with the thicker paper, it's 200 microns or nearly, you know, about 8/1000 of an inch. So that's probably what you would have seen in different images. So you can have a coarser print, which is faster. And then when you pick your optimum design, you can put finer paper in and get a finer resolution. But just to put that in context, that 100 micron layer or 4/1000 of an inch is 2.5 times finer than the commercial plastic 3D printers that we have, that we're competing against. So we get far less stepping if you're making an object like a sphere, for example, a cylindrical or circular shape. We get far less stepping on that kind of surface. And the big point about our technology is that all of our models are orders of magnitude cheaper than anything else. You're talking about between 5 to 30 times, not percent, but times cheaper than our next nearest product.
Yeah, and let me just say that we're going to have to leave you here in just one second. But the other thing that's interesting about this is actually you guys have contracted with Staples, I believe, the big box office supply store, and I believe it's starting in the Netherlands. But actually, you'll be able to actually go online and order a 3D print of a CAD file that you upload. Is that right?
Absolutely. You know, we see the industry kind of going in two paths. You know, as you know, there are kit machines where people can have machines at home in their houses, and people, you know, put the machines together or they're skilled in doing that. But, You know, I personally know people have a hard time trying to program their TV, let alone run a 3D printer. Yes, they would still want access to 3D printed content. So we envisage a future, and so does Staples, where people can take photographs, upload a simple photograph, get pictures printed out of their children, you know, and that is what Staples are offering. Initially, as you mentioned, rolling out in the Netherlands, then out into the rest of Europe, and then into the US. So very soon, people will be able to upload their content and get either collect their local at the local store their 3D printed content, or get it delivered to their door at a fraction of the cost, and not have to worry about you know, running the machine themselves.
Okay. Well, Connor, thank you for joining us this morning. We're out of time, but I really appreciate it. If you want more information, you can you can read the article. The link's down below, and also be sure to go. What's your website, Connor?
It's mcortechnologies.com, all one word, mcortechnologies.com.
Okay, be sure to go out there. There's a lot of interesting information out there, some videos, a lot of images also of their 3D prints. Connor, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It was nice talking to you both.
Nice talking to you too, man.
See you, Connor.
Okay.
Thank you. Great
cool.
technology.
I'm thinking, I want to see if I can do this. I think I want to see, I didn't have time to ask how much it costs. I actually want to order one of these things.
Yeah.
Upload a 3D CAD model. You can do it online. I don't know if you can do it from the States, but upload a CAD model.
I think you said eventually, yeah. I think right now not, but I think eventually, yeah. Cool technology.
I know, it's cool.
A lot of good comments on your story too.
Yeah. There was a lot of traffic.
Very well covered. So, so check out the story again. It's right below the player page, right down there. All right. Well, that's our show for today. And before we go, we'd like to thank today's sponsor. Hexagon Metrology carries the widest range of quality brands. With an extensive support network, they are also your partner. Be sure not to miss Hexagon Live, Hexagon Metrology's largest PC Demus user conference, group meeting I should say, held June 3rd through 6th in Las Vegas, Nevada. This year's conference promises premier educational sessions, workshops, and networking events. To learn more, visit www.hexmet.us/HXGNLive or hexagonmetrology.us. Or maybe a little easier, just click on the banner ad right below the player page right down there.
That's why we have mouse.
That's right.
And also, we are going to be broadcasting this show live from Hexagon Live in Las Vegas on what day?
June 3rd through 6th. We're going to be doing QDL initially on, I think, the 5th, which is Wednesday.
Right.
A little different day, and then we'll rebroadcast on the 7th.
We'll rebroadcast it on Friday. Right?
On June 7th. A lot of good content. We're going to have some interesting interviews. Good discussion we have planned for Hexagon Live, HXGN.
It is the rock show of conferences.
3,000 folks are going to be there. It's a pretty big event, so make sure you check that out. We will be there. Okay. Well, thank you at Hexagon again for sponsoring the show. Thank you to Connor McCormick for being with us.
And Mcor Technologies.
Yep. Robb McIvor of CMSC for joining us as well. Well, before we go, I'd like to offer, Dirk, if you don't mind, I'd like to offer a little personal note here. I want to wish a very happy anniversary to Howard and Joan Richmond of Boca Raton, Florida. My mom and dad, that's right.
Mom and dad.
My mom and dad. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Initially, they were married on May 24th, 1953.
Wow.
That's right. This is their 60th wedding anniversary today.
Holy
this
smokes.
very day, Mom and Dad. Congratulations to you. Love you. We'll be seeing you, not Dirk, but me and Terry, my wife, will be seeing you next month.
I love you too. I've never met you, but I love you.
You met him. You met my
folks.
I did.
Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
So again, congrats to them, to Mom and Dad. We looking forward to seeing you next month. And you know, there's a quality connection to this that came to me as I was driving here today. You know, one of the icons of our industry, Joseph Duran, passed away not too long ago, a few years back. He passed away at the age of 103. Oh. Did you know that when he passed away, he and his wife Sadie had been married for 81 years. Oh, 81 years. So think about that. And Mom and Dad, 21 more years to go.
21 more years. You got it.
No problem.
All right.
Well, that's our show for this week.
Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Right?
Memorial Day weekend.
Okay, yeah.
That's right. You'll have a great holiday weekend. We'll see you back here with another great week of Quality Digest Daily and QDL next Friday.
So long.
Bye.
Thank you.